सन्ति डॉक्टर अनिल पाणिग्राहिवर्याः। एतेषां कृते अहं हार्दं स्वागतं व्याहरामि। एतेषां संक्षेपरूपेण परिचयः वक्तव्यः चेत् एते उत्कलीयाः सन्ति। ओडिशादेशे एव तेषां प्राथमिकम् अध्ययनं सम्पन्नम्। अनन्तरं BHU मध्ये एतैः तत्र शोधकार्यं कृत्वा अनन्तरम् अमेरिकादेशे तैः उद्योगार्थं गतमस्ति। तत्रैव इदानीं 20 वर्षेभ्यः यावत् विज्ञानिरूपेण कार्यं क्रियमाणं वर्तते। अतः एतेभ्यः स्वागतम्। एवम् अन्येभ्यः अपि सर्वेभ्यः स्वागतं व्याहरामि।
Thank you.
Now I request Dr. Anil Panigrahi to present his talk.
Namaskaram. Thank you, Naveen. And thank you, Dr. Holla and Dr. Um, your academic leadership for allowing me to present a talk today. And I will share the uh, screen now. And I don't see a screen share icon here. I don't see a screen share icon
Yeah,
here.
1 second, sir.
Okay.
Sir, there is a thumbnail next to hand rise.
Next to hang. No, earlier I used to see the screen share icon, but I cannot seem to see it now. I have the microphone first, then the camera, video, then captions, then reactions, then present now.
Yeah, that is the option, sir. Yeah.
Okay, that
Present
is the
now.
one. Okay. Okay. But when I click it, it doesn't allow me to select any file.
Just 1 second, sir. I think your permissions are
Okay.
disabled from here. Uh, yeah, it's enabled now, sir. Can you please check again once?
Present now. No, I still don't see it.
Try करो.
I'm sorry. This is the first time I'm using the Meet.
Yeah, no
So
problem, sir. Yeah,
I have
the other
issues
person's
here.
screen share option is working now.
Okay, but I cannot see it anywhere. I have the microphone icon, then the video icon, then closed captioning, then reactions that is disabled, then present now that is the white box with an upward arrow, and to the next is the raise hand, and then the more options, three dots. In the more options also, I do not see anything.
Yeah, sir.
Um,
If you click on the three dots button, I think
okay.
you will get a share screen option.
No, I have whiteboard, change layout, free full screen. Uh, no, I do not see this screen share icon there.
Sir, I just forwarded a photo to you. Uh,
Okay. To the
in
to
WhatsApp.
the
In
email.
WhatsApp.
Um, um, can you um, can you also forward that to my email?
Yeah, sure, sir.
Yes, I'm clicking that white box with the upward arrow, and nothing is happening. What I can do is I can uh,
Sir, if you can mail the file to me, then I can share the screen from here.
okay, yeah, I can do that. Um, oh yeah, I can do it now. I got it now. I got
Okay.
it now.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah. 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 Can you all see it?
Yeah.
But I have to maximize it. Yeah. Yeah. Can you see it now?
Yeah, it's visible, sir.
Okay. Perfect. Okay. Good afternoon, everyone, and namaskaram again. And I'm sorry for the hiccup. And I'll be presenting the talk today on demystifying philosophy. Why science is essentially philosophy. Um, why this title is because over the recent years, um, not just the recent years, but for a long time now, for decades now, the prominent scientists in the world have been criticizing philosophy. And that criticism has actually taken base in recent years. And there is a feud between the philosophers and scientists because the philosophers try to um, claim that they are still relevant, and the scientists say that no, you are not relevant. So that ugly feud is going on. Um, on the other hand, the scientists themselves are also in conflict with each other because of um, era, certain areas of conflict within the scientific discipline within the scientists. Some say a few things you can achieve scientifically, and some say no, we cannot achieve a few things in conventional scientific way. We will talk about that a little bit later, but first I will um, introduce this um, quote from Stephen Hawking, who passed away a few years ago, and most of you definitely would have known him by name. One of the most prominent theoretical physicists, cosmologists. And the quote here is: the greatest enemy of knowledge is not ignorance, it is the illusion of knowledge. And it's a beautiful statement. Obviously, um, ignorance is not the bad thing, but the illusion of knowledge is the bad thing. So we cannot disagree with that. The problem is what he refers to illusion of knowledge to. He refers to illusion of knowledge as actually the to philosophy. So what he says here, why are we here? Where do we come from? So traditionally, these are the questions for philosophy, but philosophy is dead. So that is his opinion. That was his opinion. So this is one of the prime examples of how scientists disparage, berate philosophy. And now, why do we care about the Western scientists? What do they think about philosophy? We care about them because the if you look into the modern aspect of science and technology today, the almost all the advancements have come from the Western scientists, at least the scientists from the European origins, from the Europe mainland or from the United States, Australia, Canada. Very few of the modern amenities that we have, technologies that we have, whether it be communications technology or medicine or um, infrastructure development, they have come from the European scientists. So we cannot ignore what they think. Now, before we go deeper into the situation, um, here is the outline of the talk. What I would be providing you with a brief introduction or an overview of what science has achieved in describing the compositional and operational framework of a system. I will explain to you what do I mean by compositional and operational framework. This is a phrase I have not seen anywhere being used, so this is the first time I coined that. So let us examine how truthful it is. And so we will be also talking about where philosophy is believed to be failing. Then we'll transition into the meaning of the term philosophy, especially what it means in English. And we will see that the etymological meaning of philosophy includes science. We shall then reflect upon um, the scientist's view about philosophy being dead, being bad, being useless. So we will reflect upon um, what are the distinctions between science and philosophy, and we will discuss on whether philosophy is as incompetent as scientists blame it to be, and whether science is as competent as scientists claim it to be. And after that, we would look into Sanskrit terminology for philosophy, and we will pick only one preferred uh, version for me, maybe not for you because you are more knowledgeable in Indian philosophy than I am. So I will explain to you why I picked that particular term for philosophy in Sanskrit and not others. And then we will um, establish that all science is philosophy. Now, let us look into our physical reality. Why we need to look into our physical reality is because whether it is science or philosophy, all that it does is try to understand our physical reality. And what do we mean by physical reality? It is anything that we can observe through our senses without or with tools and devices. That means if you are sitting in your backyard or front yard looking at the surrounding, the sky, the landscape, the plants, that is your physical reality. In your kitchen, whatever you see, that is your physical reality. And what here we see is a depiction of the universe, our universe, and especially not the entire universe, but the observable universe. What that means is the universe large enough from the periphery of which light has had time to reach us. And this distance is 46 billion light years. And this is a logarithmic scale on uh, each side. That means every unit, every next unit is 10 times larger than the previous unit. So suppose 1 millimeter from here, centered on the sun, and this is our solar system. So if it is centered here, 1 millimeter from here towards this, it's suppose 1,000 kilometers. Suppose it is much larger than that. Then the next millimeter would be 10,000 kilometers. The next millimeter would be thousand kilometers, like that. So if we go exponentially from here to here, it will be 46 billion light years. So this is a beautiful depiction, conception of the universe. Likewise, you can pick a glass of mango juice. That that is another example of physical reality. You can also look into an atom. In this case, we are looking at the lithium atom because we have 3 electrons here. This is the nucleus, and there are 3 protons and 3 neutrons. Okay? And also, you can look at the Statue of Unity. So, what it means is whatever we can observe from our with our senses is our physical reality. And what philosophy and science both try to do is to explain them, which what the physical reality is in reality. So that is what science and philosophy both try to explain. Now, whenever we are looking into any physical reality, we are looking into a system. So you as a human being is a system, or your conference room is a system. Um, And a system has some components. It is composed of something. You, as a human being, is composed of the cells, tissues, bone, blood, everything, right? So those are the components. Um, and at the very most fundamental level, the physical reality is composed of elementary particles. The second component of a system is an interaction among the components. You, as a human being, is clothed, right? Your body is there and you are wearing certain clothes. So those clothes and your body are the components of the human that you are at the moment. So there is a physical interaction between your clothes and your body. Likewise, your kitchen is a system, and the utensils, the walls, the cooking ingredients, um, the electricity, the heater or stove or whatever, the light system, everything, they comprise the components of the system of your kitchen, and they interact. They are interrelated to each other. So that is how a system is made. And at the fundamental level, we have 4 fundamental forces that describe all the interactions that are possible. And together, the components and the interactions of the system comprise the compositional and operational framework. So, the goal of scientists and goal of philosophers is or has always been to describe the compositional and operational framework of any system that they are investigating. At the most fundamental level, um, the standard model of practical physics outlines the compositional and operational framework of the physical universe at the most fundamental level. Now, here is an example of a compositional and operational framework. So you have a glass of water, and the water has water molecules, right? So these are water molecules, H2O. So this is oxygen. These are two hydrogens. The hydrogen atom can be depicted like this. There is a nucleus composed of only proton and one electron. And the electromagnetic force um, ensures that the electron is captured around the proton. If we look into the proton, it is made up of three fundamental particles called quarks or elementary particles. And how the quarks stay together and interact with each other is made possible by the strong nuclear force and also the weak nuclear force. So, what this gives us is a scenario where matter is composed of atoms and molecules, which are groups of atoms. Like we see here, water molecule is a group of atoms. The atom is composed of a nucleus and the electrons, and the nucleus is composed of protons and neutrons, and the protons and neutrons are composed of quarks, and so on. And finally, what are the quarks and the electrons made up of? They are manifestations of energy. So matter is a manifestation of energy. That means you is a pack of energy. The computer screen that you are looking at is a pack of energy. The furnitures that you are seeing around, they are each a pack of energy. They are not the wooden frame or anything that you are looking at in reality. So you are well versed with the Indian concept of philosophy. So you are very much aware of the Advaita um, doctrine. So you can now relate that, okay, whatever I am seeing, science proves that it is not real, right? So this is the scientific basis of um, validation of the Advaita doctrine, from my understanding. Now, what else science has done for us? What science has done is science has mapped the universe, trying to still. Um, Science has also um, understood how the earth works, what is the earth made up of, um, its life forms, its land and water mass, how the land moves, how the water moves in cycles, plate tectonics, plus how the human life works. That comes as a part of an assemblage of all the biological systems, all the animals, all the plants, starting from the bacteria, viruses, everything, and how the human life works. That gives us the insights into medical science that provides us comfort. The entire purpose of medical science and technology is to provide us comfort. So the science has only two purposes: providing us comfort and providing us knowledge about our external reality. And so we have developed different technologies, the cell phones and the computer systems that we are using at the moment, investigative technologies, knowledge systems, and whatever, and everything. So um, the question here is, on the face that science has provided us so much, what is philosophy giving us? or what philosophy has done for us. And so, um, the vast majority of the scientists think that philosophy is incapable of advancing human comfort or knowledge. So that's the blame the scientists put on philosophy. You might argue, no, Kanada gave us the atomic theory, and also mechanics, and also gravity in Vaisheshika. Um, Millennia before the European scientists did. Um, you can so we have definitely contributed something to science, but um, the atomic concept of Canada or Democritus is not as refined as we have it today. And to have that level of refinement in the structural insight into the atom, enormous effort would have gone into developing newer devices, newer technologies to be able to know that. And philosophy could not have done that. So that's a valid argument that philosophy could not have given us that finer level of physical reality. Um, the another complaint is that philosophy has not been able to provide um, finer details of the compositional and operational framework of the universe. What we have so far, from the philosophical standpoint, is the doctrine of the Panchamahabhuta. So the Greeks also had the same thing. I am not sure whether and when and how the Greeks took it from us, but um, the level of elementary identity that we have gathered thus far, the chemical elements, how the chemical elements make molecules, how they make matter, that is not compatible with the five elements, so to say, that we have in the Panchamahabhuta doctrine. So that does not explain our compositional framework, or quite likely we do not understand the Panchamahabhuta doctrine well enough. At least I do not. So this gives us to brings us to a scenario where no amount of the philosophical arguments or meditation can um, develop um, scientific understanding. Say, for example, how the genes are regulated in your cell, or how the smartphones and other products of technology can be developed. So that is why the scientists criticize philosophy. And here are a few of the um, examples of different quotes that these scientists have given. We looked into that. Philosophy is dead. Um, Here, Steven Weinberg, a famous quantum mechanics theoretical physicist, um, said the philosophy of science is just about as useful to scientists as ornithology is to birds. Ornithology is the study of the birds. So he's ridiculing the uselessness of philosophy. Nature consults no philosophers. John Walker is a geologist. Um, Lewis Wolpert says philosophers have contributed nothing. That's a very, very, very mm, big statement, empty statement, definitely. Um, and Lawrence Krauss says philosophy is a field that has not progressed in 2000 years. In some sense, he's correct. If you look into the Panchamahabhuta doctrine, we have not progressed from um, whatever we see in the Tiriya Upanishad or Vaisheshika over the past more than 2000 years. Maybe that was the ultimate, that was the maximum. that can be that we can reach, and science has not reached there. That is one way of looking at it. And there are many other scientists, very prominent scientists, who berate philosophy very um, very negatively. Now, since philosophy has been criticized by the scientists so much, we need to think about what philosophy is and how science relates to it. So, uh, we already discussed that scientists think of philosophy in a very negative way. They think that philosophy is only about thinking and there is no empirical observations involved. Therefore, philosophy makes no use of data. Yes, we can see that there is not much use of data in philosophy. And so far, we are thinking of philosophy from a conventional meaning, from a conventional standpoint. We are not looking into a very broad perspective of philosophy yet. They also claim that philosophy employs dry logic and arguments useless to day life or to science. Um, Deals with anthropocentric issues such as divinity, morality, that has nothing to do with the compositional and operational framework of the universe. And philosophy is mostly linked with religion. Who cares where God is, right? Uh, Now, if we look into the etymology of philosophy, in English, it is derived from the Greek terms that means the love of wisdom. And love cannot arise without respect, and wisdom cannot arise without knowledge. So um, we can um, we can say that philosophy means love of knowledge. And indeed, since the 14th century CE in English, the term philosophy has meant all domains of knowledge, and that includes mathematics, um, physics, or even witchcraft, and even whatever you may think about, anything that is to know. So that means philosophy includes science. And in that sense, all the scientists are philosophers too, right? So, but now, for the sake of discussion today, let us consider science and philosophy as two separate ways of acquiring knowledge. Then, let us look into what are the different ways within science for acquiring knowledge and how does that relate to philosophy. So, we can think of three distinct ways that science tries to acquire knowledge about the physical reality. One is the experimental. So, in experimental, what we essentially do is based on essentially pre existing information. And that, if you go back, you end up in philosophy. So, philosophy has created a condition for the existence of pre existing information. So from a pre-existing information, an outstanding question is identified. Say, for example, our body is composed of cells, right? So the cells divide. When the body grows, it is because the cells divide. 1 into 2, 2 into 4, 4 into 8. So we know the mechanisms that control division of the cells. We also know that in cancer, there is uncontrolled cell division. So, from the pre existing information that we have on how cells divide, we can now ask what goes wrong in cancer. So, that is a question that can be investigated further. For that, what we can do, we can plan experiments to understand why cell division is um, dysregulated, in cancer and what we can do about it. So from the experiments, we we get the data. The data is called the data are collected, analyzed, and interpreted, and the experiments are repeated to ensure reproducibility, and then for future applications based on the data that we have. The other way of looking into um, the other way of scientific investigation is observational. In this case, experiment is not possible. Say, for example, there is a star system, like our own um, solar system, our own sun. If we want to understand where sun came from, how how it grew, how it matured, and how it is going to die, then we cannot do that experiment in the laboratory. We cannot provide we cannot provide the uh, necessary ingredients in the laboratory for a star to form, to grow, to mature, and to die, right? So what we do, we scour through the sky and we look into different stages of different kinds of stars. And by collecting enormous data about different stages of different stages of stars, we synthesize a lifespan, um, a story of lifespan from how this star is born and how it matures and how it dies. So another example of observational science would be paleontologies because or archaeology. So if you go into a cave and you find some dead bones, um, bones of a dead human that has decomposed, you do not know whether it is 1,000 years old or 50,000 years old. And whatever conclusions you draw, you cannot go back and do the experiment to validate that yes, this is what happened. So there are certain difficulties, limitations in observational science, and that we have to take into account. The third one is theoretical. In theoretical, no experiments are needed, no observations are needed, and the outstanding questions are addressed only by thoughts using mathematical framework and modeling. Say, for example, this is how Newton came up with the gravitational theory. This is how Einstein came up with his theories of relativity. So the key thing here is that the inferences that are drawn from the um, theoretical scientific insights need to be verified by experiments or observations. This is a key point. And in fact, one of the concepts in the general theory of relativity that Einstein proposed in 1915 is that time is not um, um, constant anywhere. It is not absolute. I should not use the word constant, I should use the word absolute. What it means is entire India has one time, right, for our day-to-day applications, day-to-day ease. But um, so that means in Sringeri it is the same time as in Jorhat in Assam. What general relativity says is that time is distorted near any object that has mass. So if here is my fist, can you see my fist? If here is my fist, then a millimeter from my fist, time is something, a millimeter away, time is something else, a millimeter away, time is something else. So time on the periphery of Earth is something, and time 100 kilometers above the Earth is something else. and that has been experimentally verified very recently. Um, in 2002, there was a paper in Nature that looked into um, the time difference called time dilation, even at millimeter scale. So that has to be kept in mind that theoretical inferences need to be um, verified by experimental or observational science. Now, uh, science dismiss philosophy because because it doesn't keep pace with the scientific rigor, and there is no data-based understanding, and there is no cross-validation possible. This is what scientists think. And here in the theoretical science, you may consider this that theoretical science is almost the same as the conventional meaning of philosophy. Now, we will look into a set of blames put on philosophy, and we will discuss about the resultant problem, and we will discuss about a rebuttal, how we counter that blame. Um, One blame is the philosophy has no standard method. It is just one person thinking in whichever way. So if A is thinking in some way, B cannot know whatever A is thinking, right? So there is no way to validate whatever A is thinking, whether it is right or wrong. So there is no empirical verification of philosophical ideas. That is the blame and the problem raised from the scientist's perspective. Um, but that is not true. That is not true because at least the Indian philosophy, I am not so convinced about the Western philosophy, but at least the Indian philosophy has developed very highly systematic, reproducible methodologies for observation, logical analytics, and falsifiability. And our Guru Shishya Parampara, whatever a certain guru has developed to the philosophical insights and experiences, can be transferred to the disciple. And the disciple, by following exactly the same path, gets to exactly the same realization that the philosophical doctrine professes or proposes. So we have the very reproducibility methodologies in philosophy. The other blame is that um, there is no technological or analytical devices involved in philosophy, and the problem with that is that philosophy cannot describe physical reality accurately. But that is also not true. We previously talked about Vaisheshika giving us the concepts of atom mechanics and gravity, and also Surya Siddhanta giving us the celestial how the motions of celestial objects occur. Um, on top of that, um, our philosophers have provided the revelations that the physical world is an illusion. We just a few moments ago we discussed about how the basic high school physics chemistry um, explains the Advaita doctrine. So we know from the scientific perspective that thing only in last 100, a little over 100 years, but the same realization is with us for thousands of years now. Similarly, the physicists conclude that there is only one reality. It's very interesting. And also, multiple theories describe reality in different accurate ways. This is what physics concludes. And look at what how eerily um, identical, exactly the same that we have. Ekam sat pipra bahudha vadanti. Of what? What is that sat? Ekam evad vidyam. So you know more about this than I do. So you can definitely appreciate here that philosophy is not as incompetent as scientists believe it to be. And also, scientists claim that philosophy is not practical, but because it is subjective and it cannot provide objective assessment of objective reality. But we know that philosophical ideas and methodologies, at least in Bharatavarsha, are very much practical. Now, we will look into a few of the instances examining how competent science is, because they think we are the king. We describe the universe and nobody else. So let us examine their claims. The first is science makes direct observations of objects and phenomena, but the reality is actually science mostly um, employs Poroksha, indirect approaches only, indirect observations only. The direct approaches are very minuscule. For example, you open up the abdomen of a frog and then see where the alimentary canal is, where the heart is. So from your with your eyes, through your eyes, you are looking into the anatomy of a frog. Or if you take a piece of metal and then measure its length, and then heat it, and then measure its length. So in those kind of small cases, you see the direct observation. But when the objects are or the phenomena are beyond the reach or beyond the capability of our physical senses, then science cannot make direct observations. So in that case, either you need microscopy to observe something, or you need a telescope to observe something, or you need even very indirect ways of observing something, and extremely poroksha. So scientists cannot claim that they make direct observations. Um, the scientific methods describe reality accurately. That's what the scientists claim. That's also not true, because same observations are interpreted in very different ways, and this is especially true in genomic data that I personally deal with, as well as in quantum mechanics. So you may have heard of something called the um, Copenhagen interpretation. So when in the 1920s, Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg, Wolfgang Pauli, they were building up the concept of quantum mechanics. The other guys, like Einstein, Schrödinger, they could not buy the interpretation. So there is a huge gap between what exactly the um, outcomes of a quantum mechanics experiment mean. So it is still there. We are still stuck there. So there is no clarity um, about what the physical reality is, and also the Heisenberg's uncertainty principle. And so what it says is that certain parameters are there that cannot be quantified or measured simultaneously and accurately. If you measure one, then you cannot measure the other. But to have the physical reality properly observed, properly examined, you need to have the ability to make measurements about our existence accurately. That is not possible at the very ultra small scale. Um, Also, the scientists claim that scientific outcomes are verifiable, but it is not so. There are many concepts in physics, for example, the multiverse cosmology and string theory. They cannot be verified. And not only that, a group of physicists, actually pretty influential group of physicists, they refuse any validation. They say that if a theory is sufficiently elegant and explanatory, it need not be tested experimentally. And this is absolutely unacceptable. So, and also, science can describe physical reality completely, but that is not possible also, because science can understand and explain only less than 5% of our universe, that is composed of the normal matter and normal energy. The rest, more than 95% of the universe, is composed of dark matter and dark energy we have absolutely no clue about. So, in the discussion thus far, what we learned is that science, especially physics, has learned a lot about our physical reality, which has outpaced achievements of Western philosophy. Sorry, um, Mr. Warhill, philosophy. So, with that pride in mind, scientists berate philosophy. Although philosophy includes science, philosophy in the conventional sense is not as incompetent as it thought to be. We saw that. Philosophy has revealed remarkable secrets of our physical reality that rivals the highest scientific revelations from the few examples that we cited from our Bharatiya Darshana. And also, science is not as competent as it is thought to be. So, with that in mind, um, it is now for us to establish that all science is philosophy. Now, how do we do that? How do we prove that all science is philosophy? So, we have discussed that science involves action, taking, conducting an experiment, then taking observations, collecting data, interpreting data. Those are all actions. Now, can we prove that scientific action is philosophy? This is the big question that we will be dealing with. And to do that, what we will have to do is we will have to take refuge in Sanskritam, and we will have to um, look into a counterpart for the term philosophy, and I choose darshana. You would agree, you would argue that no, darshana is probably not the most appropriate term for philosophy. It is probably um, tattva mimamsa or um, tattva shastra. But thatness, tattva, introducing that into the Western audience would be a little bit cumbersome at the moment. Number one, and number two, I use the term darshana from a particular um, with a particular objective that will be clear in the next slide, and you will appreciate that yes, this is a very good way of looking into philosophy from our Indic perspective. So, what does darshana mean? Darshana simply, obviously, doesn't mean me looking at the computer screen at the moment while presenting this talk to you, or looking at my living room. It also doesn't mean that I'm dreaming, referring from Mandukya Upanishad. But what it means, especially as far as I think about, is to see the unseen. Now, how do we see the unseen, and what does that mean, seeing the unseen? Now, I encourage you to look around you. You have the products of technology around you, right? You have the giant screen where I'm seen, right? I'm here. You have the furnitures. You have your own devices, electronic devices. You have your beautiful clothes also, shoes. Now, where does that where did all though come from? If you look back, and back, you will notice that anything that we have, any technology, any product that we have, it came from the soil and air. Why I say so? Most of the things that you have are metallic, that can be called soil, minerals and metallics. Most of the things that you have is derived from the wood, cloth. They come from the air. The carbon dioxide in the air is fixed by the plants, makes the cellulose that gives us the wood. So anything that we have now, including our own body, has come directly from the soil and the air. You agree with me? Now, think about it. Scientific insights and investigative tools that we use for scientific experiments and also infrastructure development, they are the culmination of a journey of hundreds of thousands of years. Whatever we have developed now, that is in the making for hundreds of thousands of years. And we saw here everything has come from the soil and the air. And humanity began this journey of scientific understanding of the universe without any investigative tools. We use the investigative tools here, and those investigative tools were not there when we started the journey to understand the universe, right? When we were cavemen. So, in the beginning, what did humans do? They used their thinking capability and they used their intuition to find reasons about how the world operates. They used their thinking capability and intuition to um, to develop little tools, to develop a log to to transport something from point A to point B, and many other smaller devices they developed. And from there, the thinking alone has brought us to this level of modernity. I hope you agree with me here. So, thinking has been the sole path to knowledge, whether in science or in the common perception of philosophy or the conventional perception of philosophy. Because philosophy is thinking. So, at this point, there is a beautiful statement from the American philosopher Ralph Waldo Emerson. And he was very heavily influenced by Advaita doctrine, that the ancestor of all action is a thought. And therefore, we see the unseen in and through our thought. I hope you agree with me. Please let me know if you have counter arguments, and we can have the discussions. Now we have established now thus far that seeing the unseen is thinking. Now, think about any action that you do at home at the moment also. You may do a puja ritual, you may eat a scoop of ice cream, you may be going from your campus um, to, say, a railway station in Bengaluru. So before you are going there, what is playing in your mind? In your mind, the imagination is playing out the entire route and also the railway station even before you reach there. So, if you think deeply into any action that you are doing, you will notice that your every step of action follows a thought. So, the thought precedes your action. And that is exactly what is happening in doing an experiment. Whether you are doing an experiment, whether you are making an observation, or whether you are theoretically thinking about an idea, the entire spectrum of the activity is preceded by thinking, by thoughts. So every steps of action in science, doing an experiment, making observations, thinking about scientific ideas, first plays out in our mind before the action actually plays out um, in the external world. If we look into actually doing a scientific experiment, then we collect a background information about a natural phenomenon in our mind. Based on that information, we think deeply and identify a blazing question to investigate in our mind. We think deeply over the question and come up with a hypothesis in our mind. We think deeply over the hypothesis and devise an experimental plan in our mind again. Then we execute the experimental plan through the action that in the previous slide we saw mind is essentially involved, where every little step in conducting the experiment, performing the experiment, is governed by thinking. Then, um, then we we analyze the experimental results in our mind. We interpret in our mind, and we present the data. We think about how to present the data to the external world, either through PowerPoint presentations or through research articles in our mind. So every action of science is essentially in our mind. And so science is essentially philosophy. So this is where I conclude this talk today. I hope you are convinced, and I hope um, the Western scientists will be convinced. This is based on my one manuscript that I'm actually preparing at the moment, and I should be communicating it to some journal somewhere. And I hope it gets wider um, attention. And I will take any question that you have and any criticism that you have. धन्यवाद.
अत्र कस्यापि
I think
प्रश्नाः
I
सन्ति
can stop
चेत्
sharing. Yeah. Okay.
प्रष्टुमर्हन्ति, हिन्द्यामपि प्रष्टुमर्हन्ति.
Yes. Okay.
Yes, sir. We have a question.
Okay.
Namaste, sir. I wanted to.
Yes.
Hello. Yeah. So I
Hello.
wanted to
Yeah.
ask if we can now start reforming
Yes.
philosophy as a science, and how much time will it take, or how many efforts would it need?
Could you repeat the question?
Yeah, my question was if we can start reforming philosophy as a science, or if we can start um, including all the experiments and um, observation methods in the philosophy, in the philosophical methods that are being used right now, and how much time will it take, and how many efforts would it need for
Um,
a mob?
okay. Yeah. Um, I do not think that is necessary. What is necessary is a change in our mindset, change in our perspective. We think science is different and philosophy is different. That is what we have been thinking all through. That is, I mean, at least for the past 200 years. Before 200 years, there was no distinction between science and philosophy in the European world, in the Eastern Western world, and obviously in Bharatavarsha there has never been a conflict between science and philosophy. It's all the same. So this fictitious difference between science and philosophy has cropped up in last a little over 100 years in Western science. So what we can do is change our mindset and think that everything is philosophy, no matter what you do. Even your day-to-day homework schedule is also philosophy. Everything is philosophy. Everything is darshana. We see and we see the unseen. So we do not need to incorporate the philosophical ideas in science or scientific ideas or methodologies in philosophy. No, we just have to change our mindset, our way of thinking. So that way of thinking needs a kind of reorientation. So why this is important is see, in your audience, you should be also, so including you, do you know what is the book that, the name of the book, the title of the book that Newton wrote, the most famous book?
I would say that is the
Philo-
that
yeah,
is the
Philosophiae Naturalis Principia Mathematica. So what it means is um, um, natural philosophy. Um, Yeah, so natural philosophy of the principles of mathematics. So he had the word philosophy there. So he was a philosopher. He considered whatever he did, gravity and calculus and everything, he considered everything of those as philosophy. Then also think about um, you have heard of John Dalton, right? John Dalton gave the concept of what the um, the chemical nature of elements, and so his book was titled "A New Chemical Philosophy." Um, yeah, I think a new chemical philosophy. So he also had philosophy in the title of his book. So philosophy was one and the same for the term for acquiring knowledge, and anything that we know, anything that is knowable there is philosophy. So we do not have to do anything. Did I answer your question?
yeah, it kind of answered it.
Okay. Okay. If you're not convinced, then we can discuss further also. And yeah, okay.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
You said that everything is made up of soil and air. How?
yes. Ha. Okay. So I explained that. You name an object, and I will tell you how it is made up of soil and air. You name an object of your choice.
It can be anything like mobile phone or water.
Okay. Okay. Mobile phone. So water. When I say soil and air, I also include water because water is there also. So I didn't make it explicitly the water distinction. Water is something and something else. So what I meant is actually whatever naturally the inorganic thing that is there, um, the minerals, the metals, and whatever gaseous substances that are there in the air, that also has water, um, because water vapor is there in the air. Whatever we see now is made up of that. It came directly from that. You might say not directly, indirectly, but if you look deeper, it actually came from that. Say, for example, your cell phone. Your cell phone has plastic. right? The plastic is made up of what? Um, Chains of carbon-containing substances, carbon and hydrocarbon, right? Um, then it has your silicon-based components, right? So carbon, silicon, they come from where? They come from the soil, okay, and from the atmosphere. Our atmospheric carbon dioxide is the source for all the wood that you are seeing now. Not only that, each of our body is overwhelmingly made up of carbon. Carbon is there in the fat that we have. Carbon is there in the DNA, RNA that we have. Carbon is there in the proteins that we have, and all of that carbon comes from the atmosphere. So you name anything, and it has come from. Okay, I would add now water in soil and air, but it has come directly from there, but in a process that is not so direct, and it took us hundreds of thousands of years. Are you convinced?
Yeah. Thank you, sir.
Namaste, sir. Namaste, sir. Lost your connection. Connection.
Sir, I think our
Yes.
internet connection is back now.
Okay. Okay.
Uh,
Good.
we have a few questions.
Okay.
Sir,
Yes.
Sir, would it be correct to say that philosophy and science go hand in hand?
From our Indic perspective, yes, we have absolutely no conflict there. And as I said, until about 200 years ago, the Western world also had no conflict there. So as I said, um, it is just the matter of our changing our own thinking. So I view philosophy as all-encompassing. Any fields of knowledge is philosophy. Any act of knowledge is philosophy. So it is all encompassing. That's how I view it, and I think we need to um, propagate this idea. So there is no need of reconciliation between the two because they are one and the same. And science is just a part of philosophy. So literature, your journalism, whatever is there is philosophy. That is what I think. But we can think about the counter arguments why it should not be that way, and that would be a better way of looking into.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
अन्येषां प्रश्नाः सन्ति चेत्
Hello, sir.
Yes.
I didn't basically get what does that the seeing the unseen essentially mean. I mean, if both scientific methodology and physical approach, philosophical approach towards uh, objects in our the things we see around us is essentially
Yeah.
the same. So
Okay. Seeing the unseen.
the area of
Uh,
scientific methodology and philosophical approach towards things are, I think, uh, are different. So
different in some aspects, but they are actually the same. Different in the approaches that science takes. Um, what I emphasized on is that whatever we do, before that, something plays out in our mind. And when it is playing out in our mind, our physical eyes are not involved, right? So we see through our physical eyes. So as I gave you the example of um, as I gave you the example that if you're planning to go from your campus to Bengaluru, ask yourself, does the imagination of you starting from your campus on this route, that route, going to Bengaluru plays out in your mind or not? It is playing out in your mind. Even when you are going to an unknown place that you have never seen. Say, for example, you have never been to Dehradun and you are planning a trip to Dehradun. that is playing out in your mind even before you know Dehradun, even before you have seen Dehradun. So some image of Dehradun is playing out in your mind. You have not seen it, and you are not seeing it through your eyes, your own eyes. So that is seeing the unseen. That is a more conventional way of looking at it. Now, philosophically and scientifically thinking, what science is? Science is about uncovering things that has not been covered yet. Don't worry, what science does, it invents something. Your cell phone was invented, right? Or in a rudimentary way, a previous version of it, or a previous version of it, or even just a piece of paper. You think of just a piece of paper. There was a time when a piece of paper did not exist, right? It was invented. It was created. So before it was created, it did not exist. So, but before something that has before the idea before a surface to write on came into existence, there was the idea, the thought in the mind that okay, can there be a surface of some kind on which, with some device, something can be written, whether a Bhurjapatra or whatever. So, my point here is anything that we are thinking about is essentially seeing the unseen. It has not been seen before. We are seeing in our mind, and that is consistent both in philosophy as well as in um, science. In science, as I explained, every single step of experimental um, a process, the performing every single step of experiments plays out in our mind before we do the experiment. I am an experimentalist. I do experiments, and I attest to it that whatever I do, it is playing out in my mind. Even if I have a sample stored in the freezer and I am at my bench, I have to walk to the freezer, open the door of the freezer, get the sample. When I do this, I do not do it mechanically. It is playing out in my mind. So any scientific endeavor that we are making is essentially playing out in our mind. And when it is being played in our mind, we are not seeing through our eyes. Because we are not seeing it through our eyes, we can call it seeing the unseen. Does it make sense now?
Sir, as per your explanation,
Yeah.
I got it as can we say that like the philosophy or thoughts lies before the any scientific experiment, and then the science takes it forward. So the philosophy is the pre-part of any experiment for that reason.
Yeah, we can say that. We can say that. The one problem is that my own whim, you might say, you might call, if you wish, is that I am tired of seeing the fictitious conflict that has been raised between science and philosophy. So I want to bridge that gap. I want to tell people that look, guys, there is nothing called science and philosophy. It is one and the same. In one sense, actually not one and the same. science is a subset of philosophy. That's what I would say. So so philosophy is a big tree, and science is one branch. Just like literature is another branch, just like journalism is another branch, just like information technology is another branch, or whatever, or performing art is another branch. So I'm trying to visualize philosophy as the all-encompassing, um, the big picture. So I don't think I am able to convince you.
Uh,
You have counter arguments?
Sir, let's say if we were to build a mobile phone,
Yeah.
uh, by having thoughts in our head, uh, we can call that as philosophy, and uh, then we are bringing out those what steps to be taken, or we are bringing out from our head, and we are experimenting it. So even if we say there is no difference between philosophy and science and both are essentially the same, we can stop Western scientists or anybody for that reason, stop berating the philosophy, but there lies still the difference, I think. Uh,
If
Yeah. So as I said, the difference is in our mindset. So if we are convinced, we can actually start thinking that no, they are just the same.
so, I would
Sir, I
like
have a
to.
question here.
Yes,
What
yes.
you seem to be saying is that uh, philosophy is essentially science, or science is essentially philosophy. But when we look at Indian darshanas, or Shad
Yeah.
darshanas for that matter,
Yes.
this philosophy is not open-ended as per. The science may be open-ended, but philosophy is not open-ended. They have their own specific goals, and through all these, pramanas or anything, they want to reach that goal, a specific goal. But science doesn't seem to have that. It can flow in any direction, as we saw in every kind of technology. Or so I think there can be a contradiction here.
Um, I don't know if I got your question in a proper perspective. Uh,
Yeah,
but let
what
me
I'm saying is that
think about it. Yeah.
philosophy has a specific goal to achieve, but science does not have it. Yeah,
Science
you
also
can
has
say
a.
knowledge, but knowledge of what? Knowledge of
So what?
anything. Science is concerned in, it is interested in anything, but philosophy is not.
Yeah. So okay. So the Shardharshana, the six branches are what? They're branches, right? So instead of thinking each branch as a philosophy, how about considering the whole tree a philosophy?
Yeah,
We
that
can
is
do
also
that, right?
possible, but uh, the goal is
So,
different, I think.
so yeah. So the goal of each branch is specific. Vaisheshika has a specific objective. Nyaya has a specific objective. Vedanta has a specific objective. Within Vedanta, again, the Advaita has a specific objective. Visishta Advaita has a specific objective. Um, so, likewise, in science also, neurology has a specific objective. Um, Information technology has a specific objective. Um, Artificial intelligence has a specific objective, right? Genetics has a specific objectives. Um, uh, and again, if you go to paleontology, that has entirely different objective, right? So we can exactly. So if you say that the Shardharshana, the six branches have specific their own um, spheres of their own spheres of focus, then we can say the same thing on any aspect of science, any different branches. Only um, the the open-endedness will come into picture only when we see the holistic, all-together perspective. As long as we see individual things, then yes, there are specific objectives. But as a whole, as one body of the large grand scheme of things, I think both philosophy and science, as we understand them, are open-ended.
Sir, I would agree on that point, sir. So basically, uh, both the science and philosophy start looking upon the things that means physical reality, the things we can see already. But where philosophy moves forward is after establishing the pramanas or the means of knowledge that already exist before us, the senses. After that, it moves forward to establish another pramana, that is Shabda. Uh, and that is not physical. The knowledge that we get from that pramana would not be physical. So philosophy aims to establish that pramana. So if anybody comes and starts to talk that I cannot see that, so that doesn't exist. So science cannot prove that because it is not in the range of science. It can prove only what we can see and we can perceive by the five senses. The thought
Yeah.
also works only in that field. So only the things that we can perceive by the five senses, the thought can make combinations of that. So beyond that, the philosophy has to work. That in the Indian darshanats, I think aim to go beyond what the physical, the senses can perceive. So aim is that the difference in the aims of science and philosophy, Indian philosophy, I think is that.
Yes, absolutely. You are right. That is why um, that is why science has no concept of aparuksha anubhuti. So yes, you are right. That is why science and philosophy cannot be equivalent. The science has to be always a, a part within philosophy.
So I would
Agree?
like to
Okay.
bridge the earlier topic with my question if I receive your permission.
Uh, what is the question?
Yeah, I would like to get involved in the earlier discussion if I receive your permission. Here. Hello.
Yes.
Yeah, am I audible?
My permission for what?
जी मुझे ये पूछना था कि अगर मतलब मुझे प्रीवियस जो टॉपिक डिस्कस हुआ उसके ऊपर एक क्वेश्चन था.
Oh, yes, 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 yes,
या
yes, yes,
सो
yes.
मुझे ये पूछना था सर कि आपने कहा था कि साइंस और फिलोसॉफी को बस एक अगर हम माइंड से चेंज करें सिर्फ साइंस और फिलोसॉफी को एक ही नज़र से देखें तो इनमें मतलब जो गैप है वो ब्रिज हो सकती है. लेकिन as he asked, that won't stop the scientists doing from what they are doing, and that won't give any chances to the philosophers currently learning philosophy. So should we do something to bridge that gap, such as we have some examples in the history. So psychology was a branch of philosophy, and then psychologists took an initiative, and then now psychology is kind of considered absolutely considered as a branch of science, and psychologists are doing really well, psychology is doing really well. So can we do some kind of like something in those directions, and would that be beneficial for us?
Yeah, we need to think about what we can do and whether we need to do to do anything. So yes, so um, this is something that is developing in my mind at the moment. So I do not necessarily have the recommendations for what we can do or the idea of what we can do, what we cannot do. Um, what we can do is to tell the Western world that look, the kind of science philosophy dichotomy that you are talking about actually doesn't exist there. So that kind of a unifying concept we can put forward, and then see beyond that what kind of reaction we get from the other side, what kind of response we get from our side. Based on that, based on that, we can think what to do. But at the moment, what I think is um, it is a pointless, useless exercise from the scientists to criticize philosophy. That is what at the moment I think. So from my perspective, yes, psychology is science as much as um, Bharatanatyam. Sorry, psychology is science and philosophy as much as Bharatanatyam is science and philosophy, if not science, philosophy. So I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Yeah, we have another
Okay.
question
So
from.
yes, Rajendra
Yeah, he
has
has
raised
raised
his
his
hand for
hand.
a long time.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes. Um, Rajendra is muted.
Now, can you hear me?
Yes, yes, sir. I can.
Okay, so since I'm traveling, I missed quite a lot in between. And unlike Dr. Anil, I will have an opportunity to speak clearly tomorrow. And with the permission of Dr. Panigrahi, okay, I will clarify a few other things that Anil couldn't because of the distance thing. That's number one. Number two, there are a few things that needs a bit of an elaboration. I'm speaking on behalf of Anil as an extension, though he answered many things. Now, the point is, there was one time when somebody asked what's the meaning of unseen. Anil has already answered it, but I just put it in a different way. When we do science, or even in philosophy, what do we investigate? We do not investigate the known, right? We investigate what is not known. So, whether it's in science or philosophy, we try to extend the existing knowledge towards a non existing knowledge, bring the non existing knowledge to the realm of an existing knowledge. You try to go from the known to the unknown that Anil has already explained. If everything is known, then there is no philosophy, no science. So, knowing the known doesn't make any sense. So, what do we do? Whenever we ask something that's not yet known. Okay, that's one point. And number two, somebody was asking, about the cell phone, soil and water. Okay, I know Anil, I'm sure, has taken it for granted that, some basics are known and people are from different backgrounds. I thought I'll give one more perspective. Whether actually is the plastic of the cell phone case or any mineral for that matter, how do those things come from soil? That we have to understand one thing. We never actually go out and eat soil, right? But what we do, we eat plants. How the plant's body is made, as
Yeah.
so plants have an information, a program to convert soil and atmosphere into its part. Whatever soil has made itself, you know, uh, it's I'm essentially we all body from the second plastic matter. The plastic is the material is derived from fossil fuel. Your fossil is from the organic
Sir, sorry to interrupt, but your voice is
atmosphere. Hello.
unclear.
Yes,
Oh, I'm sorry.
the audio is unclear.
Let's go ahead.
Okay. Okay, so the point that he was making is that um, the plastic that comes from the hydrocarbon, that comes from the oil, that is buried in the underground, and what I did, by saying soil, I included all of that. So it included all the minerals, all the matter that is there in the Earth's globe, apart from life. So life necessarily um, takes all the ingredients from the air and from the soil. That includes water also. So anything that you see, even if you ate a sandwich today, if you eat a bowl of paneer today, then you would know that has come from something, right? From where that thing has come. From where that thing has come. So if you go back, you will end up at the soil and the air. I hope that is clear. So there was actually a good point that he made. Also, the point of scientific endeavors, whether it is discovery or whether it is invention, is bringing out unseen to the scene, to the forefront, is a better way of describing seeing the unseen. So, any more questions?
Sir, uh,
Yes.
I had a question. I just wanted to hear your thoughts on this. Uh, it's
Okay.
established, let's say, that science is a subset of philosophy.
Yeah.
But then the conclusions that uh, that science concludes, say, for example, you mentioned time dilation as a
Mhm.
scientific conclusion. What if time is it's like a consequence of a faculty which is not physical, but only perceivable by, you know, philosophical. Uh, what if it's a philosophical dimension? So concluding anything about time based on the tools that science relies on would be an illusion, right? The conclusion that we would end up at using science about time would be an illusion. So how do we tackle that?
Yes, you are right. That would be an illusion, and from my understanding. And when I said time, I essentially meant the measurement of time. so, so when there is time dilation, we measure time in some way, in minutes, in seconds, or in whatever milliseconds or whatever. So it is the measurement of time that that so we cannot define time, we cannot define energy, we cannot define most of the things. It might sound very odd to you, but try yourself. Go to any extent that you can to define time without using any word that has something to do with time. Try to define energy without talking about matter. It's not possible. Try to define matter without without bringing in energy. Not possible. So the science has become a science as we see the scientific terms are a circle. So we are describing A based on B, B based on C, C based on D, D based on A, but we cannot individually describe one of those all by itself. It's very difficult. Especially, I have not found any definition of time. So you might say, if you do not know what time is, why care about time? So you may have actually exactly the same thought that you are just saying. I read a few years ago in a comment section to an article. So the article was written by a great theoretical physicist called Sean Carroll, and he has 3 or 4 brilliant books available. Brilliant books. He's also a philosopher. So he's a philosophy faculty also in a university. And his article was about the arrow of time. Arrow of time means the directionality of time going from past to future. We do not go from future to past, backward. So one of the commenters on his article said, Sean, you do not know what time is. So why should I care about what you are thinking about its directionality? So so that is a valid criticism. I do not know how to handle that, but in most of the cases, when we talk about these terms like time, space, um, space is what? It's very difficult to define it. Matter is something that occupies space, right? And space is what? Space is something where matter exists, right? You might say that, or energy exists, or whatever. I do not know. So it is a cyclical thing. So that is the trouble that we have. I do not think we have any way out.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
अन्येषां प्रश्नाः सन्ति चेत् इतोपि I think we have no more questions, sir.
Okay, great.
अत्र अस्माकम् आह्वानम् अङ्गीकृत्य अत्र विशिष्टं व्याख्यानं प्रस्तुतवद्भ्यः डॉक्टर अनिल पाणिग्राहिवर्येभ्यः अस्माकं विद्याशाखापक्षतः विभाग परिसरपक्षतश्च धन्यवादान् समर्पयामि. Thank you for all this thought-provoking session.
Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you very much. And if any of you have any question that we could not address today, or you are not convinced from my lines of arguments, then please feel free to contact me, and I will try my best to discuss it further. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Have a good evening. Thank you.